guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tee. I encourage you to go and watch some of my other videos. By all means, watch this video, but if this is your first time seeing any of my videos, you're gonna think that I am like mellow and chilled out, and that is definitely not who I am on a regular basis. I'm usually loud, energetic, excited, happy, goofy, but today I'm gonna be a little bit more mellowed out because of the nature of the video. I'm kind of on the fence whether or not to tell you to continue to watch it if this is something that is triggering for you. I personally feel like there is healing in hearing other people's stories. Sometimes when you know that other people are going through the same thing that you're going through, or something similar that you went through, sometimes something that they say is not something that you realized, and you can get some healing from that. I want to encourage you to watch all the way up until you can. If it's something that you feel like you can't handle, then of course exit out or just fast forward to the end of the video. I will have some scriptures at the end of the video. I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys jump into this video. I'm gonna get started and telling you our miscarriage story. So my husband and I got married in 2011, and a month after we got married, we was like, hey, let's have some kids. So we stopped using all forms of birth control, and towards the end of 2011, at the beginning of 2012, we was like, what is going on? Having a lot of missed periods, so I thought I was pregnant like every 5 minutes. I went like 6 months without a period. Went to an OB appointment, and I was telling my OB that, you know, I think that there's something wrong, we're not conceiving, what's going on? Said, I'm gonna run some tests for you. And the test came back. I went to her office, and she told me that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, aka PCOS. She was going to send me to a specialist who happened to also be a fertility doctor, because he was equipped to deal with this. It's something that he deals with every single day. So we go to this appointment, and over the course of a few months, the doctor is doing tests on my husband, and he's doing tests on me. It was because of PCOS was the reason we couldn't conceive. The thing about the appointment that I really remember the most was really boasting in himself about how success rate was so high. He spoke to us about PCOS. We never really went into like great details about it. So he didn't really educate us the way that I felt like he should have. He ended up giving us some fertility drugs. You take them at a certain time, you do what you're supposed to do. We did everything the way that he told us to do. But one thing that he did not mention in his office was the fact that when you start doing fertility drugs, sometimes the first time you take fertility drugs, the chances can be lower. After we did everything we're supposed to, I had a missed period. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And when you are about to start your cycle is the same symptoms of when you are pregnant. I take a pregnancy test, and I just knew. I just absolutely knew. I felt it. I felt like I was pregnant. Of course, it was in my mind. And I took a pregnancy test, and I was absolutely 100% devastated. And it hit me so hard. It hit me so hard. I remember I cried so bad, and it would just be like the smallest thing that you could say to me about kids or children. My niece and nephews would come over and play, and I would watch them for a little while, and it would just be devastating to me that they were like out here running around and just doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, I would absolutely love to have that. So we decided to stop everything for a little while, and we were just going to live our lives. I tried to go about my regular life and not really think about it, but of course, what is it that you think about is the thing that you feel like you can't have. So fast forward to 2015, my husband and I, we packed all of our stuff up. He got a job in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I have family who lives in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I used to visit here whenever I was a little girl. And coming here, I just always felt so much peace. We had a church home here, which was absolutely amazing. We were gonna have a pastor who was gonna like speak life into our situations. Once we moved, of course, we got different insurance and all of that good stuff. And it just so happens that the insurance that my husband got with his new job covered us to go to a fertility clinic. I wanna kind of just throw this in. It doesn't matter, regardless whether you go to a fertility doctor, you can take all the fertility drugs in the entire world. For you to conceive, it takes God. There's no other way. You won't conceive any other way unless you've got his consent. I just want to throw that out there. So the beginning of 2017, we thought, why not go ahead and experiment with the fertility clinic? I want to say for about 4 to 5 months, we were going through fertility treatments. I don't want to say I had a horrible experience, but it wasn't a very good experience. I worked more with the nurse practitioner than I did the actual doctor that owned the clinic, which I understand that you've got a lot of patients and you need to see a lot of people. I completely understand that, but the nurse practitioner was relatively new, and I felt like, I don't want to say that we had a missed opportunity, but we had a missed opportunity. Of course, they draw blood and they check all your levels and they check this and they check that. Like pretty much everything with you, everything that's going on with you is really good. The first month, she's like, okay, we can't do anything until we get all of your levels, you know, to a perfect stance. So this wasn't just with one level that I had. A bunch of my levels were normal or under, and she decided to put me on medication for a lot of different things. I'm not gonna get into all of the medicines that she had me taking because that would take forever. It wasn't because there was something wrong with me, it was because level is normal if it's under a 5, but it's at a 3 and we want it to be at a 2.5. Later on, I found out that the doctor was like, it's fine where it is as long as it's under 5. But the nurse practitioner insisted on me taking certain medications because she wanted it to be perfect when that may not even be possible. There was a lot of different medicines that I was taking all at once. I started to feel like crap. I felt horrible for those 4 months. I kept pushing through and saying, you know, I just need to keep pushing through. It'll be fine in the end. And I just always felt nauseous and I always felt moody and I always just felt bad. I felt so bad. I had an appointment at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. So I would go in and they would check my ovaries or they would do all of this other stuff. There was a bunch of different stuff. They would draw blood or they would do this or that. It was always something. During this time, she would tell us, this is the good time for you all to conceive, so make sure that you have intercourse on these days. So we were doing all of that, still nothing. And the next month, she says, we just missed it. And so I kind of started getting frustrated. How is it that we just missed? I don't understand. Like, I'm coming in here like often, we just miss the window for us to conceive. I understand that they all have to get experience somewhere, but I felt like the doctor should have assisted her a little bit more in whatever it was that she was doing. I want to say like the 3rd or 4th month, we decided that we were going to do an IUI. She waits until the last minute to call me and she's like, oh, you need to order the shot from this pharmacy, but you can't get it from any of the pharmacies around here. It actually has to be ordered from a fertility pharmacy somewhere else. So I had to call and try to get it overnighted because I actually needed it the next day. The day that she called me, I needed it the next day. So I called this pharmacy. They couldn't get it for me because our insurance didn't cover it. I had to call another pharmacy so that I wouldn't have to pay like a crazy amount to get this shot that I needed. The shot did not come in time. And she said, we'll just save it and we can use it for the next month if this one doesn't happen. But the nurse practitioner was like, come in anyways and we'll just go ahead and do the IUI. The day before we actually went in to do the IUI, we were so excited. I am a photographer, so that has always been so huge to me to keep like little photographs or videos of the past. We sat down the night before and I did a video to our baby, and then I had him do a video to our baby. And I said, okay, so this is before we even get pregnant, that they're so loved and, you know, all of this other stuff. And I was really, really excited. So we go to the appointment, we do the IUI. So we just finished with the IUI. Then when it was time for us to go in and actually see if I was pregnant, I went in and I wasn't pregnant. This had been dragging on for 4 or 5 months. At this point, I was like, I'm tired. We've done the IUI. We have taken fertility drugs. We have tried to get pregnant over the span of, you know, almost half of this year, and I'm tired. And my body hurts. And I'm doing so much all of this other stuff, like my body is going through basically hell right now. He said, okay, that's all I needed to hear. Okay, we're gonna stop. Nurse practitioner had actually put me on a medication that had messed with my thyroid. My thyroid was at a 2 and she wanted it to be a 1.5, so she put me on thyroid medicine. I take it for a little while and it's making me psycho. It was making me crazy. One time we were eating tacos for dinner, And I walked by King and he was like, you want to buy it? And I was like, no. As soon as I said no like that, I said, oh my God, I am so sorry. I don't know why I just snapped on you like that. And he's like, it's okay. He's so mellow. And he's been in some of my other videos. He's absolutely hilarious. He's so loving. He's so kind. He's the nicest person I know. If you all know him, you're probably like, you are evil. That had happened a few times until I was like, I feel crazy right now. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I called the doctor and I said, there's something that you have given me that is making me psycho. And she said, it's probably the thyroid medicine. She said, stop taking it. I didn't take it the next day. And then the day after I had another appointment. So I went into the appointment and they tested my blood levels. She called me and she's like, your thyroid is at 9. We need to send you to the endocrinologist. We have to stop everything, which was fine because we had already discussed prior to that we wanted to stop everything for a little while anyway. So we stopped going to the fertility clinic. I started going to this endocrinologist. And I actually found out later from my doctor, the reason that they tell you don't abruptly stop taking your medication is because once they check your levels, it's going to be wrong. Her telling me to stop my medication, she should have told me, we'll check your blood levels later. She just sent me to somebody else. She sent me to another specialist. So I go to the endocrinologist. She puts me on a thyroid medicine. I'm taking the thyroid medicine for a total of like 4 months. While they were checking my blood every 3 weeks, I was supposed to be getting a pregnancy test. So I was taking the thyroid medicine and like a prenatal vitamin, and that was it. I actually started to feel better and I'm like, oh my God, I can actually go and exercise. I got to the point where I was doing like 13 miles on the elliptical every other day because I actually felt so good. On October 15th, that night we were in the living room watching TV. We're waiting on my period to come. Like I said with PCOS, you never know when you're gonna have a period or not have a period. I said, oh my God, my stomach hurts so bad. And sometimes with PCOS, your periods are heavier and they're a lot more harsh. Your cramps will be so bad that you literally cannot do anything. I sat down on the floor for whatever reason, crossed my legs, I'm rocking back and forth, and he comes over and he rubs my back and he prayed over me. He was like, come on, let's go lay down. So we go upstairs. So our house is a 4-bedroom house. We have one bedroom downstairs and 3 upstairs, what we call the man room. And that is just like my husband's room. So it's like his little man cave. So we sleep in there every once in a while. Next door is a bathroom. It was about 10 or 10:30 that night. I was about to put my phone up and I saw where somebody had posted Miscarriage and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And they said that that was in October. I didn't even know that that was a thing, to be honest with you. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. So I said, you know what? Let me repost this. And I went to bed. Later on that night, I was like in a dead sleep. I woke up and I turned over. Felt, this is the part where it's going to get a little bit graphic. I felt like I started my period. I could definitely feel like there's something that came out. And when I pulled my pants down, I saw that there was a big blood clot in my underwear. And I was like, what in the world? I just kind of looked down and I saw that there was a lot of blood all the way down my leg. I look and there is a trail of blood from where I came from in the man room to the bathroom. What am I going to do? So I yelled for King. And he woke up and he came in there. He's always so calm and so collected. So I look at him and if he starts freaking out, we're about to die. We were about to die. He knows that. So now that I'm thinking back on like what his facial expression was, he was really probably trying to be like, he said, it's okay. Like everything's fine. He was like, it's probably just your period. It's just really heavy because you know you haven't had one in a while. And I said, okay, you're probably right. He like gets a washcloth and stuff and he starts like cleaning me up so I can actually walk to our bedroom or bathroom. He was like, go take a shower. I'll be in there in a few minutes. I get in the shower and my mind's like racing at this point. And I'm like, okay, God, like what is going on? And King comes in there and he's like, you all right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm just really thinking like, I don't understand like what's going on. And it's kind of like making me a little bit nervous. And I started to cry and he brought like scripture out and he's like, no weapon formed against you shall prosper no matter what it is. He was like, it will be fine. You were fine. We are fine. Everything's going to be okay. I put a pad on. And I went and I laid down. It was like 10 minutes and it happened again. Almost felt like a sensation like I needed to push a little bit. I didn't wake him up and I went to the bathroom and I turned the light on. Before I could even pull my pants down, I just looked down and there's another trail of blood. It's like even worse this time. And I pulled my pants down and there was another blood clot in the pad. At this point, it was just a lot. It was a lot of blood. I yelled at King again and he came in there. And he stood there and he was like, I think at this point he was kind of like, haha Davis, like, this is beyond me. And I think he was like, I don't know what this is at this point. And I said, this is not, this is not just a heavy period. Like, there's something else going on. Should we call my aunt? And he said, yeah, let's call her. And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. She picks the phone up and she says, hey, booby, what's wrong? And I said, hey, I am bleeding a lot and I was waiting on my period to come, and then I just paused and I said, I'm bleeding a lot. And she said, it's enough to scare you. And I said, yes. She said, oh no, mama, do you think it's a miscarriage? And I said, no, I'm not pregnant. Like, you know, we stopped all the fertility stuff and all that. Like, I had told them that we were going through fertility stuff, but I had never really given them like great details on, you know, what we were going through, because that journey was for me and King. And we decided to keep a lot of that stuff under wraps. And the reason I'm sharing it now is because I want people to know medicine is practicing. It's always going to be practicing. Faith is what you should stand in. The grace of God is what's going to get you through this. And your faith in him is what is going to bring you to the other side of this. Should I go to the hospital? And she said, why don't you just go down to the hospital? And she said, and if it ain't nothing, just tell me you just came down there to see what they was doing. Make sure they was working. So get up, I have to change this pad. I went through like 2 more before we left the house. Like, I just grabbed some clothes and I put on his big old baggy Nike sweatpants. Drops me off in the front and he goes to park the car. And I'd never been to this hospital before. So I start filling the paper out and I am just like, I look down and my sweatpants are soaked. And I said, can I fill this out like later because I'm bleeding? And she said, bleeding from where? And I said, like, down there. And she said, oh my God, are you pregnant? And I said, not that I know of. Every single time in the past, since 2011, I have taken a pregnancy test. They've given me a pregnancy test at the doctor. They've asked me at the pharmacist, are you pregnant? I've always said, no, not that I know of. It was my generic answer to always give. So she comes and she grabs a wheelchair. King walks in and they take us back to the room. I get changed. They start asking me all these questions and all this other stuff. And so they done blood tests and stuff. And they finally came back in the room and she's like, it was positive. And I said, for what? Because like I said, when all you've ever heard was no, she said, it came back positive that you are having a miscarriage. And so I just sat there for a few minutes and was like, dang. Like, it happened to somebody else almost. I was just like, dang, that's crazy. And I look over at Chris and said, wow. I said, are you sad? And he said, I am a little bit sad. And I said, oh, I'm sorry you're sad. I'm not sad. And he was like, you're not sad? I was like, no. I can't remember if they gave me medication or not, but I remember they was like, you can go home and you need to make sure that you rest for a little while. Did do some extensive blood work and stuff at the hospital, so they found out that I was a little over 10 weeks pregnant. And we went home. King went upstairs and he got my pillows and my favorite raggedy blanket that I love. He set me on the couch. Of course, we grieved. We grieved differently. I am the emotional, lovey-dovey type of person. That's my love language. Because of that, he compromises. And because I know that that's not his love language, I speak his love language in a different way and I compromise. And we communicate well so that we know when the other one needs something and our needs are being met. During this time, he grieved in the way that he needed to be alone with God. And he needed to talk to God about what just happened and what to do from here on out and how to help me. So I knew he needed to be alone, so I allowed him to be alone. He knew I needed him beside of me, so he came and was beside of me. So there was times that he would come downstairs and he would just lay on me, watch TV together. We would stop and we would talk about it. And then the next day is when it started to hit me. I just remember being so shocked. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that this just happened. I won't go into great details about how our families reacted to the situation, but for a little while I was sad and I did get a little upset and I did cry. I know that we all handle things differently, but our faith during this entire time never wavered. We never looked at like, why did this happen to us? Looked at it more so like it happened and we need to heal from this and we need to figure out what our steps are from here on out. And then we kind of turned to God and was like, whatever it is that you will have us do, we're ready. You can send us, you can trust us. I want to encourage anybody who's had a miscarriage, is going through infertility or any of that stuff, to not allow your faith to waver during this time. Because if anybody is able to relate to what it is that you're going through, it's definitely God, because he gave his only son for us. He will be all that you ever need to focus in on him, because that is where your peace is going to come from. You can't have peace without the one who created it. Never get to the point where you will forget about it, but you can at least get to the point where you have peace with it. I feel like that is where we are now in our journey. I'm gonna add some scriptures at the end of this so that you guys can screenshot it if that's something that you need or you need to send to somebody. The whole point of me sharing my story, so that if somebody went through this and they woke up in the middle of the night and was like, this is probably just a heavy period or it's nothing, and they didn't go to the hospital and something else happened to them later on, like, I want you to know that if there is a emergency, that you need to be cautious with these things and just go to the hospital. So one of the other reasons why I wanted to tell my story is because you never know what somebody is going through. We're going through all of this process. Got the apps on our phone to calculate when the best time to conceive is and all of this other stuff. You're disappointed, and we've had so many disappointments. Out in public and you hear these people say, how old are you? Oh my gosh, y'all don't have kids yet? When are y'all gonna have babies? Y'all been married for this long and you still don't have kids? It's about time for y'all to start having some kids, ain't it? If I could have popped a kid out for you a long time ago, I probably would, so you would be quiet. So you've got strangers asking you constantly when you're gonna have children. You have your family and your friends, and if they continue to nag, it becomes disrespectful at that point. You don't know what we have went through. You don't know the journey that we're going through. My family didn't know that we did the IUI. They didn't know that we took fertility medicine when we lived in Tennessee. To be completely honest with you, I didn't tell people because it's none of your business. I understand that you want to pray for us, but you don't need to know details to pray for us. And I shouldn't have to sit down to say, you keep asking me when I'm gonna have a baby, or you keep saying I better hurry up and have a baby. You just went through IUIs and it wasn't successful. And I'm dealing with that, but you're stressing me about whether or not we're gonna have kids or when we're gonna have kids. I shouldn't have to sit you down and tell you that so that you won't come at me and keep asking me whether we're having kids or not. Don't put your measure of success on somebody else. You're not gonna be successful unless you have a house, you have a husband, and you have a child. My measure of success gets to the point where I am executing my purpose that God laid out for me, and I'm doing what he told me to do. That is my measure of success. I want people to know that you are not alone, that God loves you. He is still with you. Sometimes it's genetics, sometimes it's, other stuff, but it's not your fault. So that is our miscarriage story. I'm gonna end this here because I know this is like stupid long. I thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video.